What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Invest Iowa. If I get 100 likes, then I will get a haircut. Otherwise, don't even complain about it. Today, I have two beautiful people that are going to introduce me into the syndication and the syndicate world. It's a misconception that a lot of people have to think that you don't need to be experienced in order to join these programs, but I don't think that's true. So that's why we're here today, to bridge that gap of knowledge and be more open to learning syndication and how that works. So thank you guys for coming. If you please introduce yourselves and tell me a little bit about yourself, that'll be great. So how can we get started?
Yeah, well, thanks for having us. I'm Shania Moore, and this is my wife.
I'm Ivy Moore.
Yeah, so how did we get started?
Well, we really got into the real estate investing world back in November of 2021. We saw someone post online about how all of their investing endeavors got them to the point where he was able to buy a jet. And that was pretty inspiring to us. So we were like, okay, what's this guy do? How can we make this happen? Next thing you know, we're tumbling down the path of real estate investing.
How long ago was that?
November 2021. So a year and a half ago.
Oh, no.
Barely.
That's recently.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was that like a sudden change? What were you guys doing before this?
Working jobs that we didn't necessarily like. You know, I don't even think I might have been in my sales position by then. But before that, you know, I was working in factories, working hard, literal blood, sweat, and tears. And I just always knew. I think a big driver that I've always had is just being able to do what I want to do. You know, when you're working a full-time 9-to-5 job and you don't have any other type of income stream and you're just working hard for your money, you can't have that.
Same. I hate jobs. But anyway, this is not about me. Yeah, that's true. What are you guys' backgrounds?
So I have been working in the last 6 years. I've been working in an office where I started as an administrative assistant, made my way through different roles within the company, ended up as chief operating officer. And then in October, I quit my job, and now I work full-time as a director of operations for our mentor in syndication.
That's great. Mm-hmm. So what is it exactly that you do?
I get to basically manage different departments of the company and help them bridge the gap of communication. I help them implement organization and put in more efficiencies to help things run better and enable them to scale.
Gotcha. Mm-hmm. Okay, what about you?
Yeah, so I've done sales, and that's what I've really been focusing on the past few years and just getting really good at that, being able to communicate. So I'm also working for a mentor, which has been really great because I get to talk to people about coming into the group, and it ranges from new investors talking about why they should be syndicating or why they would consider it, to people who have done 40-plus different syndicates for mobile home parks, but now they want to transfer over to the apartment world.
Yeah, I do see a lot of people going from that transition of triplex, fourplex into bigger apartments, and that's where commercial real estate kicks in. What do you see in regards to the relationship between commercial real estate and syndication?
Yeah, so there's different kinds of commercial real estate, but what we focus on is multifamily and apartment buildings. And so when we are syndicating buildings that size, basically what a syndication is any time that you need to raise capital. So you have a couple different groups of people. You have a GP, which is a general partner, and they're the people that find the deal, they're funding the deal, they raise the money, they're analyzing it, they manage the asset, and then eventually they exit the deal, close it or sell it, usually after 3 to 5 years. And they're raising money from the passive investors, who we call LPs or limited partners. So that's where the money is coming from for the down payments for the syndications.
Okay. What's your average LP?
What do you mean by average LP?
I don't know, like, because when you mention a passive investor, right, I imagine somebody that's already, like, have enough capital and he or she just wants it to run by itself, doesn't really worry about too much of cash, more of a cash flow matter. Like, when it comes to me, is someone who is already, like, wealthy.
Yeah, so there's a couple of different kind of raises you can do for syndication. It's called a Reg D 506C. this is where you're raising capital. It has to do with the securities laws, and you have to abide by them just to make sure you're being compliant. But with a 506c, you have to only bring in accredited investors. So an accredited investor is someone who has a net worth of $1 million, or they have an income of at least $200,000 individual, or $300,000 as a couple. So that's a 506c. But if you do a 506b, you can bring in sophisticated investors. And those are people who basically just understand the risks, and they understand the process. They understand the investment that they're getting involved in. And you don't have to have the net worth, but that's just a way for people to get involved. So me, for example, I'm not accredited. I am sophisticated. So I've been able to invest in syndications passively.
Oh, okay. What you talk about government regulations, how does that play a role in syndications?
So this would be an amazing question for an attorney, and they are pretty expensive when it comes to the syndications, but it's just being compliant with the securities laws. And so that's an important person to have on your team when you're doing syndications, is an attorney in your corner, making sure you're being compliant. And they write up some documents for you, for your investors as well. So that's an important role to fill.
Yeah. Okay, but as far as in your regards to your experience, why will the law exclude people that don't have those qualities that you just described to invest in syndications?
I'd say it's a pretty controversial question.
Okay.
Because
let's get into it.
In a way, I think a lot of people think that it's just a way to keep people from being able to invest, and then you're only allowing people who are wealthy, only people who have $1 million to be able to invest. There's actually been rumors about them upping that to $10 million to be considered an accredited investor, and that's not good for anybody. It's not good for people who are trying to invest. It's not good for people who are trying to raise capital, because it really shortens kind of the herd of people that you can tap into. So it's not a good thing if that were to happen.
Okay, but how is it controversial?
Because you're not allowing people who don't have that income to invest.
Yeah. And that is by law.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so.
Another thing to add to that too, I mean, syndication is more than just in apartment buildings. You can have a syndication when you're drilling oil, or when you're raising capital to push out a new product, or like a venture capital kind of thing. And I mean, if you look at it on the other angle, maybe the securities attorneys just want to protect people who might not know what they're doing, because investing in real estate, it is risky. Investing in oil, things like that, it's considered a higher risk investment. And so I think that's why, on the other side of things, they want to restrict who can invest.
That's a good argument. So you told me that you're new to this world of syndication, right? For somebody that is trying to get into syndications, how do you go about that? Like, you either have the capital or you have the expertise, right? You get into the world. How do you get involved into the world?
Yeah, I think once you find your focus, and there's different departments you can focus on. There's different things you can do as a GP team, and you're going to learn it as you go.
How many departments are we talking about?
So there's the relationship building. You have to have someone who's really good at building relationships. That's with investor relations, having relationships with the brokers, things like that. You have someone who's really good at analyzing the deal and underwriting properties. They understand the markets and they do the research. And then another important role would be the asset manager, who is making sure that the business plan is being implemented. They're managing the property management company. So when you start to focus on one of those areas, some people want to focus on all three, and that's where they get tripped up going into syndication, because you can't do as much deals when you're focusing on all three things. So I think it's really important initially when you're learning about syndication is to find one that you're really good at, and that's something that you can bring to the table in a GP team. So for me personally, I want to be a capital raiser. I want to be able to raise capital to bring into deals. And then Ivy wants to be really good at asset management. So the education part is crucial.
What do you mean by asset management?
So the asset manager is basically in charge of implementing the business plan. And what that entails would be managing and overseeing the property management company, connecting all of the GPs who are involved in making the deal happen, everything like that. So that really falls in line with what I do for a living as director of operations, former chief operating officer. I get to bridge the gap from all different sorts of departments. I lead teams and see things through.
Okay. So some sort of operation manager.
Yeah. I think that was a really cool recent discovery for me, is realizing that as an operations manager, it's coincides so well with asset manager.
Okay. What certifications do you need to get into that? So as an asset manager, it's more of a knowledge that you just have to have.
You don't need any certifications. And I would say to anyone looking to get into syndication, find a mentor and, really do what you can to find someone who's done this before and does what you want to do. And that's, there's a ton of questions that you want to ask for, when you're looking for a mentor. But I would highly recommend finding a mentor.
Yeah, it'd be really hard to get into a syndication without having a mentor, without having a community of people doing it, because in a lot of loans that you get for a syndication, you have to have the equivalent net worth that is the value of the property. If you're buying a $10 million property, you need a $10 million net worth. And that's where you can leverage other people in the group, their time, their experience.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Okay.
really a huge teamwork thing, because you can't just, some people do syndicate by themselves, but getting a team together, people you can lean on, people you can trust, but you have to remember you're going to be working with them for probably the next 5 years. So they like to say, look at it like a marriage in some ways. So
Okay. So when you invest your money into a syndication, right? What's an average? Could you give me a number, like just a perspective?
Yeah, so usually the minimum requirement to get into a GP deal, whether you are an LP or you're actually putting the deal together, is about $50,000.
Okay.
So with passive investors, pretty common return would be a 2x return. So you put in 50K and then in 3 to 5 years, you'll have 100K. With GPs, you can, I'd say probably a normal is like a 6x if I was being conservative, but you can 10x your money being a general partner.
A general partner, because you're pretty most of the work, right?
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So how it is kind of split up, it's like an 80-20 split. So this is like the proceeds of the sale after you sell the property. Once you've gone through the business plan, you've met your returns, 80% goes to the passive investors and then 20% goes to the general partners. So if you're in a team, like you have 4 GPs, you would split that 20% up amongst the GPs.
That makes sense. What about taxes?
So it's actually possible to pay 0 taxes.
Okay. Just depends how you structure the deal. I
Yeah.
imagine.
So I don't know a whole lot about it, and it's actually been a part that I've been trying to learn more about because it's something that's really attractive about investing in real estate, investing in general, is paying 0 in taxes. Our mentor hasn't paid taxes since 2018, completely legally, by investing in apartments. And it just has to do with the depreciation that you can get, which also gets split up amongst the investors.
That makes sense. What is a mentor to you as someone who is in syndications? What value does that a mentor provide?
Yeah. Do you want to answer that, Ivy?
Yeah, sure. When I'm looking for a mentor, I, really want to find someone who's doing what I want to do and who has the heart of a teacher, someone who wants to help people push forward. Those are 2 big things that I look for.
Can they prove it?
Yeah. Can they prove it? What's their track record?
Yeah. So what does it mean to you, though? Yeah, what do you get from your mentor? Sorry.
No, yeah, that's exactly what I'm trying to figure out. Because,
Yeah.
I mean, I have seen people that come across as mentors, but the first thing that they're offering me is a free book, and they're showing me their bank account, right? Pretty sure everybody will agree that that's a red flag.
Yeah.
So, how do you
Yeah.
guys pick your mentor? How do you come? How did you meet him? Her?
Yeah, so she kind of talks about like the mentor selection process. Do they have what I want to have? Have they done it? Do they have the results? Do they have the heart of a teacher? Those are really important things when you're looking for a mentor. And we were in a different one before, and it didn't vibe well, because that's important too. Like, you need to vibe well with the community. I think that's probably the most important thing. And I've touched on this on my social media, is when you're getting into a mentorship program, it's almost more important about the community that they've built, because you're leveraging other people in the community. And what kind of coaching do they offer? So with our group, it's unlimited coaching if you utilize it. And then the people in the community are extremely successful. And so I've been having one-on-one conversations with other people in the group about raising capital. And it's been extremely helpful, just talking to different people. And even if it's like a 2-minute conversation, I get something from them, and then I can implement it into what I'm doing.
Community.
Yeah.
So you guys have some sort of groups already established? Is this like a membership program, or how does it work?
Yeah, so it's an investment to get into it. And I think a lot of the times when people that are really experienced, they still want to join mentorship programs because they're tapping into the community that mentor has built, if that makes sense.
So I am paying a price, I'm paying a premium to get into a room with full of people that have the same interest as me. Is that some?
Yeah, like, Tony Robbins always says, your network is your net worth. And so, we choose to put ourselves around people who are doing what we want to do because, we're all just going to move forward together. And the really cool thing I appreciate about the community we're in is a lot of people are super experienced, but they love helping people learn and grow as well. So it puts us in a really great position. We want to be able to help others too and learn and take on big deals with people.
How do you take this decision? Is it Texas where you have your mentoring program?
Yeah, but they're all over the place.
They're all over the
Yeah.
place. Are they here in Iowa?
There's a small handful of us in the community that live here in Iowa, yeah.
Okay. I guess where I'm trying to go with this is what is the relationship between you going to Texas? That's when you're investing passively, right? Is that what's driving you there the most, or is it something else?
There's kind of a couple things driving us to Texas. It is because of the jobs that we have. It's based in Dallas. We want to be down there, but also the proximity. So this just kind of goes hand in hand with what we were talking about, the community, but being in closer proximity to the people that are down there. A lot of people in our groups have their own meetups that they do, just like the Friday morning coffee meetup. They have their own meetups that they do once a month. So it'd just be nice to be there and be with them and be a presence and you get to know these people. Because the whole point is to build the relationships with people that you want to do business with. Because that's the model that we follow is co-GPing. So we're not just doing a GP deal by ourselves, but we got to build relationships with people that we want to work with.
What are those events like when you go? Is it multiple people? Like how many people are we talking about, especially in your program?
Yeah, so I don't really know like the turnouts of the individual meetups, but I've seen some like today there was a group of 75 people that met up to talk about apartment syndication. But what we do, our mentorship program actually has 6 events throughout the year that we go to. They're all based in Dallas, and we'll get on buses and we tour different properties that students either bought or sold recently, because the whole mantra is basically to study success. So by going to these apartments, we're seeing the physical asset. We're talking about how they underwrote it, how the market's doing, and things like that. So those are what those events look like, and that's part of the mentorship program, which is really cool.
Okay, and that is part of your mentorship program.
Yeah, that's like one of the perks.
Okay. It's all in a full service, so to speak. Will it be like Bigger Pockets group, so to speak?
I guess I'm not too familiar with the Bigger Pockets group and what they all do. And
There are multiple. Okay. I don't think they're related to syndication specifically, but I guess now how would you describe the future of syndication? What does that look like? Is it going to be affected by laws, or do you see it every day stronger? I also know that capital is being raised from all over the world, and a handful of people are pouring a bunch of cash into deals. What do you guys think about that?
So I think a lot of people are worried about inflation and recession, and I honestly don't have the expertise to really touch on it. But what's been important about that is just the people that I'm listening to and surrounding myself with. I'm not going to listen to the Debbie Downer in the corner who says, don't buy anything. This recession's ruining everything. Inflation, interest rates are horrible. But there's works around. It's another reason why you're in the mentorship program, because they update you on how to make it work. When shit hits the fan, we know what to do about it, right?
Yeah.
Because they are experts. They're doing it. They're still buying deals. All the successful people we know, they have their foot on the gas. So that's what we're going to do.
I think a lot of people right now are scared about interest rates. Mm-hmm. So you see some of that. People will say, oh, slow down because interest rates are up. But I mean, yeah, like Shania said, our foot's on the gas when it comes to investing. And then another thing to keep in mind is people need somewhere to live. We buy apartment buildings. We want to uplift the apartment building, uplift the community that we're investing in. And at the end of the day, there is a housing shortage. So I don't have the charts, to I could maybe send you some or find some for you. But yeah, at the end of the day, we need places for people to live.
Is that particularly for Texas, or is that for
It's like everywhere.
United States in general?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah. I mean, Texas especially has had a lot of growth.
Yes.
A lot of people are migrating there, like especially Austin. Things are getting really expensive there. All the Californians have moved to Austin.
Okay, it's just like another city growing really fast,
Right.
really quickly. Let's take it back for a second to syndications. I'm just curious. What are your expectations when you enter a deal? And I know that there's all sorts of ways to structure a deal. Give me an example of a deal somebody has already done. Like how much money they put in, how much money was there pooled available, and what do they get out of, and in what time?
Yeah, like so we're invested passively, and the returns that were projected is a 2x. You know, so if we put in 50,000, we're expected to get 100,000 back.
Okay.
That's just when they sell the property, and that should be about a 3 to 5 year hold period. Sometimes they'll flip them faster. If they hit the projected returns, they'll exit the deal so they can get the investor's money back. So that's just as a passive person. It's really typical to 2x. We've seen people over 3x their money as well, which is good by doing nothing. That's the beautiful thing about being a passive investor.
How long do those deals usually take place?
So it's about 3 to 5 years once it closes.
Okay.
There's actually been some struggles within our group. I think it's with syndicators in general, but we know it because people are doing it. But it's been taking longer to close the deal, and they've been having issues with the bank and loaning. And I think it has a lot to do with just people are anxious about the market. The interest rates are really high. We've seen deals take 6 months to close, 4 months to close. Usually I think it's for syndication, it's probably 2 to 3 months to close. So that's been a roadblock.
Do you think that banks are having a negative impact into the way that deals are closing now? Are they being conservative?
Yeah, definitely. I know there's different banks. Like locally, there's Green State Bank, who I've heard that they are not giving out loans, but I think it's smaller deals. I don't think there is much worry with the big deals because they're underwriting the property, and if the property and the investment makes sense, they'll loan on it.
Right. What do you think about that?
I think that, I mean, the interest rates are raising, and they have been for a little bit.
They're a killer.
So yeah, banks, they got to do what they got to do for the underwriting. And at the end of the day, if one bank's not going to loan, I'm sure that you could find someone else to loan you money, because if a deal is a good deal, money will come.
That's a good point.
That is true, but I think most of the stats that we see online are talking to the average consumer, right? I think I was looking at the stats the other day here in Iowa. I think January 2022, and don't quote me on this because I saw it recently, but they're just numbers, I forget. You could get a house for, was it 315? No, it was like 285,000. And this is Les Grove. I don't know if you guys follow him. He's the local market update guy here. He was talking that with a mortgage payment of $1,200 a month, January 22, you could get what was it? 250. No, it was more. It was like 285. Again, don't quote me on this, but now with that, you can get like 213 right now.
Yeah.
So that's just like, and the amount of properties that are under the 300 mark are like on the hundreds. There are not that many. So for Iowa, that's a deal breaker.
Yeah, we're actually we're kind of dealing with that right now, because we bought our house in Ankeny 2 years ago for $320.
320.
Yeah, about $320 with an interest rate of 2.75.
Wow, that is awesome.
Yeah, it was a great deal, and our mortgage payment's like $2,000 a month. So for a nice house in Ankeny, like that's a steal. So yeah, we're really lucky to get that. But now we're going to be selling it here soon.
You're going to be selling it?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah. We got to sell our house and move down to Texas.
Why don't you rent it? You won't rent for that.
I don't want to be a landlord. That's why I do syndications.
You don't want to be a
I
landlord?
don't want to be a landlord. No.
Wow.
You can buy it and you can rent it out.
Yeah.
That is insane. Ankeny is a good place.
Ankeny is a really good place. See, I'm not so worried about the price dropping with interest rates rising because of the location of it. But we'll see how it goes. It'll be fun.
But for that price, are you planning on selling it seller finance or on contract, or how you just get rid of it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that is insane. Anybody will do anything for that type of steal. Like, you're talking about a 2.7, that's free money.
I know. And now we're becoming renters, moving down to Texas.
I've never rented before. Isn't that
No.
funny? I've never rented before.
Well, I guess if you're moving constantly, it doesn't make sense to have a house.
Yeah, we've moved like every 2 years. It's been pretty crazy. But now we're moving down south, and I'm sure we won't stay in that place much longer than a year. Then we'll be looking for a different place to live.
Wow.
But yeah, the rent down there, it's a 1,500 square foot house, and it's $2,400 a month.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you're living in paradise here then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
basically.
Another thing that I would like to touch base on is you have quite the following on Instagram. And how did that happen? Like, I just knew that somebody told me, oh yeah, she has 100,000 followers, and I was like, no, you're full of crap.
Yeah, I might not for long because it's kind of really dropped off. I actually hired a mentor. See, we're obsessed with hiring mentors, and he watches my real content and gives me feedback and tells me what I'm doing wrong. He
For how
never tells me
much?
what I'm doing right. It was like $300.
Oh, I'll tell you what's wrong for 150.
Yeah, tell me what's wrong. He doesn't tell me what I'm doing right, but it's okay. But I went to a Tony Robbins Business Mastery. There's a guy up on stage named Todd Hartley, and he's a sales and marketing guy, and he was talking about selling with video, and he's like showing us how to take a selfie video and just using that instead of emailing and texting.
Yeah.
But selling using video, especially after the pandemic happened, people are missing that connection. And I knew I've been wanting to post content for a while, and so that was in August, and I just jumped in and started doing it. And I didn't really know what to talk about. I was just reading a lot of books because my focus was still kind of scattered. I was still trying to learn about a lot of different things. And so I'm like, I can add value to people like this. So I just started talking about the books I was reading.
Your content blew up.
It did. Yeah. I got over 100,000 in about 4 months, 3-4 months.
Yeah, it was insane. Once the algorithm picks up, like, you're just up.
Yeah, but it did. It slowed down. So I'm trying to figure it out. I'm still learning the ropes with that. But what's been really cool is a lot of people in our mentor community, they also want to build their social media. So I was able to stand up and just kind of make a comment about how I've grown my content. And I thank the guy on stage because he'd inspired me a little bit. His name's Pete Vargas. He's also talking about adding value and just getting on stages and building your own stage on social media. So I stood up and just kind of thanked him for the inspiration, and everyone knew I had a lot of followers. And next thing I know, everyone's coming up to me and I'm adding value to them. And that just felt really good because I felt like I've always been like the kid in the corner. I don't know anything. I can't help anybody out. Here I am just leeching off everybody, asking for help. So it felt really good to be able to add value to them too.
Right. You're not only extracting that. In most cases, I feel the same way every time I go to those places. You don't have anything to provide to them besides a good conversation, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially with 100K, I think you have some sort of leverage to say, hey, like, I know that if you had my followings, you could go somewhere. You know, you'll be making different deals. So I don't take that slightly. Like,
well, that's the thing with the 506c raise that we mentioned. You can advertise that. So kind of what I've had in my mind is I don't want to sell them anything because people have asked me, you have all these followers. What are you going to do? You should like sell a product. You should do this. And I've talked to different people in my group, and because they've asked me the same thing, they said, don't sell anything. Add as much value as you can. And then when you have an offer for an apartment investment, that's an offer you're giving them. Because I'm not looking to sell them anything and make money off of them, but it's an opportunity for them to be able to invest. And so the more followers I have, the more likely there's, accredited investors on there, and I can help them get invested into real estate. So that's kind of the vision I've had for it.
what about you, Ivy? Are you big in social media?
I try to, but I just feel like I get myself too caught up in work and the daily grind thing. So Shania is really talented, and she does push me to, write out my scripts and toss ideas back and forth. But I've just been a lot slower at it than she has. So, but maybe my day will come. But I kind of don't mind being like the person in the background, When we talked about the 3 roles of a GP team,
Right.
One of them is the relationship builder, the asset or capital raiser person, and I'm as the asset manager, I can kind of be in the background a little bit. I don't mind that. I'd rather have the relationships with the vendors and everything like that.
I always thought I was like that. I never wanted to be the point of attention. And honestly, sometimes I hate posting content because
No,
it's a
you
lot of
are.
work.
You are.
But yeah,
Come on, don't lie to us. You are. You
it's
are
just
the
a
same.
weird mix of being outgoing, but also feeling like an introvert,
Oh,
you know?
that makes sense. Yeah.
I'd rather be an introvert.
Yeah, but
honestly.
you want both.
Yeah.
That's the sweet spot.
Yeah.
Because especially in the real estate world, like net worth, network, same thing. So I could definitely relate to that. I have seen multiple posts talking about the way of living that you guys have. What is, I guess, the work ethic or the spirituality that drives you to do what you do? And how could you relate that to real estate?
So I think having a vision for what you want in your life is really important. That was a pretty big shift that we kind of gone through, and I really give credit to Tony Robbins for that. Just going and being around a lot of Tony Robbins people, I've gone from just floating around thinking, oh, just working a 9 to 5 forever. This is just what life is, because that's what everyone around me was doing, and it's all I knew. And then I get around people, and they're talking about passive income and just being able to travel and do what you want to do all the time. That's really inspired me. And so we have made a lot of life changes just even in the past year, and I feel like our life has grown exponentially. And there's just different mindset shifts that we've made. I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and that really changed everything for me.
You think it did?
Yeah, it did. I used to hate rich people.
Me-
I thought they were evil. They were terrible. Rich people just helping other people get rich. That's what I thought about Tony Robbins. I was really against it. And then I go there and I realize that's not what this is about. These people are actually helping each other, raising each other up to do amazing things.
I didn't find the book that valuable.
Really?
And I, unpopular opinion, really, really unpopular, because most people do. I just, wow, and we can't get into details, but I just didn't think it really meant anything for somebody that was already rich.
Yeah, well, I think it might have come from too, like my mindset going into that was that I was very left thinking. And then I thought, rich people were the enemy. And then I read that and I was like, wait, this is a choice that I'm making to live like this. And that being wealthy and getting rich is also a choice that you have to make. I think that was kind of like the main point that it made for me.
Yeah, I used to feel bad about people not wanting to change their lives. But then I remember, oh, it's actually your fault. It's you're living however you want to live right now, right? I guess that's one of the things that you realize the more you read and the more you experience, and who knows how much we're going to learn in the future. Do you practice any sort of routine in your day-to-day?
Not necessarily. Something that really helps me out a lot is meditating, which I've been getting back into again.
What do you do it for?
Just to still the mind. So I read Stillness is the Key by Ryan Holiday, and he just talks about how active we are in our lives. There's always input. And that kind of hit home with me because I'm constantly learning things all the time. Like I'm taking courses, I'm reading books, I'm taking notes, I'm watching webinars, just shoving as much stuff into my mind that I possibly can. But there's never a time where I'm just being with myself. So I started incorporating like a 30-minute walk a day without listening to a podcast, without listening to music, and just walking or meditating and just focusing on my breath and not thinking about anything at all, just to kind of keep myself centered, because it's a lot of input all the time. And I think it's been helpful it's really helped me focus, I think.
Then why real estate?
Why real estate?
Yeah. Like, how do you relate all of this with real estate? Like, where is real estate taking you that you can't get anywhere else?
Wealth journey is also a self-growth journey.
How so?
Because you can't get wealthy doing the same thing that you've always done, right?
True.
Because if you keep doing the same thing, you're not getting results, you're not going to get wealthy. But as you go through this journey of just changing your mindset, which has been substantial for us, and then to coming up with ideas, like an example, what am I going to do with my taxes this year? Old Shania would have thought that I can buy a new guitar amp. I can go buy a new guitar. But me now, I can pay off a high interest debt that I have, and I can invest in a service that's going to teach me how to have a signature talk and get on other people's stages and get myself out there in front of people. That's what I want to invest in. It's not things that I can buy, but what can I invest in to expand my reach and help more people and help myself at the same time.
Is there a common theme in the people that you're talking to? So everybody that you meet in this masterminds and this people that want to like surpass their own levels of knowledge, like people that want to do better from themselves, do you find things in common, and what are those things?
I think the biggest thing that I can think of just off the top of my head is they are all extremely giving.
As in mindset, or as in like physically given?
Both. I mean, I feel like once people have climbed the ladder and they got to the top and they struggled, they got through it, and they look down and they see other people climbing the ladder, they want to reach out their hand and help them out. But at the same time, you know, they've built their wealth so they can donate to charity and do things like that. So that's something that I've noticed, is how giving people are that are in this community, or wealthy people in general, which is what I did not think maybe a year and a half ago.
But do you guys think that they do it because they've always wanted to? Because there's also the argument that I can't help you if I haven't helped myself.
That's true. I didn't always want that. Initially, my intentions were very selfish. You know, I just wanted to have passive income and not have to work and do whatever I want to do. But as I've gone up this ladder, I truly want to help people. Like, we came up with our business plan. So our investing business is called Astro Capital. It's actually named after our dog, Astro.
Astro Capital.
Yeah. It's to help 50,000 people invest and acquire an abundant retirement by investing in apartments. And so once I kind of came up with that.
Sorry, through syndication?
Yeah.
Okay.
Investing in apartments passively, actively, but just helping 50,000 people have an abundant retirement doing that.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah. And so it feels like everything I'm doing is, how can I reach more people with that mindset of helping them achieve that?
Okay. And then you take all the mentality that you've been studying from all of those people and you apply on those people. That's your way of giving?
Yeah, it's just been kind of weird because I never cared about donating my time or giving to charity, but being around people that are doing it all the time, it's really impacted me. So it's been pretty profound.
I have seen you two posting things about that. I have seen you doing charity and all that. How does that feel?
Oh, it's so good. I just became a 3-gallon blood donor the other day, so that was pretty exciting.
You know, that's a really good point to make too, because you don't have to donate money. You can donate your time. You can donate your blood. Blood.
Okay, let's bring it back to syndication now to then wrap it up. I think this is a lot of information. I don't think anybody's going to get into syndications without first having a mindset. That's why I think it's so important. If you don't have the right mindset, you're not going to do anything in your life.
I think it's a choice too. You know, our life is just built on the choices that we have. You know, I could have decided to pick small multifamily or single family houses, but I made the choice to focus on the syndication. Maybe it's a bit harder than some of the other routes, but that's just what I wanted to do.
Do you think it's
and
harder?
I stuck to it. I don't know. I haven't done anything else.
Harder or different?
It's definitely different. But that's a common misconception, you know, is people our age, but we're 26 and 25. It's not common for someone our age to save $50,000 to invest. But when you're focused on it, you're going to do it. You'll figure out a way to make it happen. And I think that's the mindset you have to adopt if you truly want to build wealth and you really want to get into syndication, because it's possible. You just have to make the choice to do it and then stick with it.
How do you find those right people to go in deals with?
Do you want to talk on that, Ivy?
Is it more of a mindset? I guess I'm coming back to the mindset thing. I'm curious to find out, who are you willing to work with? Because we can go hours long talking about how partnerships go wrong.
I think a huge thing to look for when you're building a relationship and a partnership with someone for a syndication is a lot of the energy. You know, if I don't get along with you and I don't, if we don't see eye to eye or have similar viewpoints on things, I probably wouldn't want to work with you. But another cool thing about being in our mentorship is if I'm looking to go work with someone, I have a dozen coaches that I can talk to who have worked with these people as well in the past. And I can go to a coach and say, hey, so-and-so wants me to join a deal with them. We're looking at our options. What has this experience been like for you in the past? And the coach can give me honest feedback on what they've seen this other person do. So that's another great thing about joining a mentorship that has a community is you can rely on people with good data on who you're going to work with.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's definitely a game changer. So you're taking the expertise of somebody who's already done deals. So you're technically not doing deals with strangers.
Right. It's really important to really get to know these people because they say it's like a marriage. It's a business partner. You're going to be with these people for 5 years probably. Things are going to come up. How do they respond to a high stress situation? Do they freak out? Do they melt down? Do they disappear? You don't want to work with somebody like that. But you also need to make sure you're filling in your gaps too. So if I'm raising capital and I don't have the net worth, I need somebody that has the net worth that can be the loan guarantor. Or if I don't want to be the asset manager, I need somebody that's going to be the asset manager. So I think it's important to identify that first, like what spaces you're trying to fill, and then make sure that you're vibing well with them. You guys get along and that you can maintain that relationship for 5 years.
5 years. Doesn't seem like a very long time, but for an asset that you can't move.
Yeah, for an asset worth, tens of millions of dollars, I feel like it could be pretty stressful.
Especially what happens when the deal goes wrong?
Well, you lose your investors' money, and they don't want to invest with someone who loses their money. So if you let your deal go bad and you can't turn things around, then I don't know.
Or you don't have any liquid capital and maybe like a fire happens or something. And then people will go and ask their investors for money again. Like, hey, they already invested, but now we need some more money because something happened. And that's just kind of one of those things that we really want to avoid. So it's important to have extra money on hand so you can cover that. We've noticed that with a few GP teams where they'll take a hit before they let their passive investors take a hit. And that's what you want in a GP team if you're being a passive investor.
They will take a hit before.
They'll take a hit first.
And that is something that is stated in the contract, or is just something as...
It's just like a moral thing.
Okay.
I think. And if you just want to be a good person that people will want to reinvest with.
How can people now connect with you now that you're moving to Texas?
Yeah, so my social media is all I am Shania Moore. The I am's part of it on everything.
I am Shania Moore.
Yeah, on everything. And I think she is I am Ivy Moore on everything.
My Instagram is I am Ivy Moore, and then my Facebook is Ivy Moore. Twitter is Ivy Moore.
So I think anybody that is watching this and wants a little more information on syndication, I don't think you guys are going to have any problem having a conversation with them, right?
Yeah, we love to talk about it.
We love it, especially with people like our age too. Introduce them to it.
You don't see that many people your age?
Mm-mm. Yeah.
We are the youngest people in the group. I think there's a couple others that we've met that are a little bit younger, but it's funny. It's like we're the children. They're our parents.
That's good, but everyone wants to teach you now.
Yeah.
Right? That's how I feel. They appreciate you being so young and being there.
I really think they do. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been really cool because they'll say it. I wish I started when I was 26.
Yeah.
Like, I wish I started when I was 12.
And when we first kind of got into this, like, I was so insecure about it. I was like, oh my God, I'm, 20, I don't know, even like being an operations role, even a chief operating officer at my last job, at some point I remember being like, oh my God, I'm 23 years old and I'm supposed to talk to other people about building something for this company. I'm like, who do I think I am? And now at this point, I'm like, I've overcome that insecurity, and I just hope more people our age overcome that.
Yeah, I deal with that too. It's like imposter syndrome. It's like, who am I to be doing this? Like, I cannot believe it sometimes because we are in these rooms with like extremely successful people, and it's just mind blowing. But it's the room I want to be in. I never want to be the smartest person in the room, and I don't want to be the wealthiest person in the room, and I'm not. Not yet. Not yet.
With regards to your sales position, how does that imposter syndrome play a role?
So I talked to somebody the other day whose net worth was like $20 million and $5 million liquid cash on hand. And I'm trying to tell him about apartment syndication. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's rough, right?
Yeah. So something like that. but it turns out really good every time.
How does that conversation start? Like, what is it? What is something that they want to hear?
Yeah, well, whenever I go into a call initially, I just want to know what they have experience of doing and then what their ultimate end goal is. Because there's different things I can offer them. Like if they want to be a passive investor, I'm going to get them into a different group versus if they want to be like a general partner. But just knowing what their end goal is and where they're trying to get to ultimately is the first thing I want to find out, just to be able to guide them in the right direction.
Wow. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's nothing I want to tell them. It's what I need to get from them to help them the right way.
Right. And that is your role as a sales representative
Yeah.
of, is that for the group the mentorship group that you guys have?
Yep. We both started working for our mentor.
Oh. So you're
All in.
all in. It's all or
100%,
nothing.
Yeah.
You sure you're gonna move 100%?
Yeah.
No way you're coming back.
Our
No.
lease started yesterday, I think.
We're
Oh,
double
really?
paying
2 days
right
ago.
now.
Yeah, our lease started yesterday or 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Oops. I need to set up some utilities.
Well, I mean, how can people reach out to you? I mean, you already mentioned your Instagram. What are other ways that people can reach out to you?
Yeah, anything on social media is probably easiest. My email is shania@astrocapllc.com. Ivy's is the same thing, but Ivy at that. But that'd be a great way to reach out. Love to have a conversation. I have a calendar link too, so I'd love to Zoom or do a phone call. I've got that all set up.
Yeah. I mean, anything else that you could tell the audience, tell the people that are watching, go for it. Any motivational quotes?
What do you think, Ivy? Any advice for people our age that want to do this?
Yeah,
What
stop-
should they do?
Stop getting in your own way. That's, I think, a big one. Like, stop letting your insecurities get in your way. Stop letting, what you're telling yourself and holding yourself back. You just got to push through.
Yeah, and talk to as many people as possible. That's what I've been doing lately, and that's what you're doing too.
That's what I'm
You are
doing
talking
too.
to as many people as possible.
I have been 10xing my knowledge.
Yeah, I talked to, in this past week, I don't even know the combined net worth of the people that I've talked to. Probably like 250 million or something. I've talked to them, just asking them questions. And they've added so much value.
Wow, that is so important. Yeah, you are in the room with the people that have what you want.
Exactly.
Definitely one step closer to what you want.
Yeah, a couple of them fly jets. I want a jet someday. I can't help it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even about the jet. It's about the self-improvement, right?
Yeah, seriously. I mean, the jet's just a nice asset.
Yeah.
But we travel a lot, so it'd be nice. You know what I mean? But it's everything else that comes with it. Like what I mentioned earlier was so profound. I never cared about giving back. I never had the means to. I didn't have money to do it. It's more than just money, but I just didn't even care about it because it wasn't possible for me. And now I see all these people doing it. Like I could raise money on my Instagram to donate to some charity. And I've talked about doing that because Jesse Itzler is a business guy, and he talks about having a word that defines your year. And I heard that kind of halfway through the year last year, and it kind of coincided with what I was doing on social media, was just add value. That's what I focused on for the last part of last year. And this year, my word is just give.
Give.
'Cause what you give eventually comes back.
And this is a great time for you guys to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the YouTube channel.
That was really good transition.
Yeah.
That was
yeah.
good.
That was good. But yeah, I think we're gonna call it for today. It was a lot of information. You have no idea how many shorts I'm gonna make out of this. Because if you're watching until the end of this video, wow, you're really committed. Because I haven't built an audience yet, but I will eventually. So
Oh, yeah.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. If you're watching and you're subscribed, you're the GOAT.
The GOAT.
Yeah. All right, guys. Appreciate so much you watching this video. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
It was a
Thank
lot
you,
of
man.
information. Very, very, very appreciated. Best of luck in Texas. Stay in touch, and we might do another podcast once you learn more. We'll do it on Zoom.
Dude, do this again in a year, and I
Yes.
bet it'll
Yeah.
be crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
What,
again
we're in
a year.
168 units passive right now. Let's see where we're at in a year.
Yeah.
I want to be in 2 GP deals and 2 more LP deals in a year.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. All right. 1 year from now, we'll do this.
Yes.
Sounds good.
All right. See you guys.